In this video we're going to look at how to install a bathroom mortise latch to an oak door. So first thing we have to do is mark out 895 with a little pencil line on the edge of the door. Make sure that you measure from the bottom of the door and not the top of the door. The bottom of the door will usually have a thicker transom bottom bar going across. The top of the door's got quite a marginally thinner transom, probably the same width as the sides of the door. So we've marked this out. Now if we just have a look at the tools we're going to use, we've got 50mm chisel, hammer, 20 or 18mm chisel, 20mm spade bit, tri-square tape, router with an 8mm flat bit inside it, and you've got your clamp, drill, and then we've got the bathroom mortise kit. So we've marked out 895. That 895 is going to be the centre of the door handle, and that's the starting point, the datum for where you're going to work from. So with that line, I'll get my square and just draw a very faint, very pale line down here, about halfway down the thickness of that panel there. So a very pale line. You can just about see that on the camera, it's just here. Very pale line. Rest the mortise latch on there now, and then I'm going to stick the pencil inside the square bar hole there, where the handle on it will be attached to on either side of the door. I'll do a little pencil line in there, a little dot, and then drill that hole right through, and that's where the square bar is going to go. So the marking out on the top I've done here is I've placed the latch over the centre line for where the door handle is going to go, and then marked out the pencil line at the top and the bottom of that latch. There's an inner rectangle and then there's an outer rectangle. It's not probably isn't very clear on this camera at the moment. There's an outer rectangle which is the size of this white plate, finished plate that goes around the front edge of the latch, and then there's a thinner rectangle, a smaller rectangle, pretty much the size of the body, which contains all the mechanism for the latch. I'm now going to clamp around the edge of where I'm going to drill. Use the clamp it up. First part I'm going to drill this top with 3 holes, 1, 2, 3. I'll then move the clamp along, clamp at this part, and drill a further 3 holes, 4, 5, 6. And the drill bit I'm going to use for that is the 20mm spade bit. If I was doing an external mortise latch, then I'll be using this one, 28mm. It's a fairly recent design, so it's essentially 2 spade bits in one. But when you're using this, you have a much better balance. It's got that thread at the front to pull the drill bit in as well, so there's less work for the operator. Right, so I'm now going to drill the 6 holes with a 20mm spade bit to prepare for chiseling out. So drill bit's ready, drill's ready. I've got some masking tape just to tape off the depth to tell me how far in the drill bit needs to go. so I can have a consistent depth on all 6 drill holes. So the depth I've got here is about 5mm more than the Mortice Latch itself. So hose pipe fabrication with a stop boss, otherwise known as insulation tape, and that will go into your chain drill holes perfectly to remove all the sawdust before you start chiseling. Very important to have that clamp on the outside of the door before you start drilling, otherwise the edge of the door will just start splitting and coming apart. So keep this tight on the outside of each drill hole before you start drilling. I only actually managed to do a series of 5 holes there, so that's plenty really, that's enough. Next thing I'm going to do, start chiseling. So I'm going to first of all use a small chisel to stop the grain splitting. If I just went ahead and used a big chisel here for the sides, where I'm chiseling here, the grain could and more than likely will just continue to split all the way up here, up the face of the door edge there. So if you use your small chisel, just to stop that grain split first of all, at the top and the bottom of the rebate. So just place the chisel in there. 1, 2, 1, 2, and then with the bigger one, the 50mm, just going to start scraping away. It comes away really easy now. Now that you've removed all the bulk of it with the spade bit, you just chisel this away now with your 50mm or with the biggest chisel you have. Make sure it's nice and sharp. Sharper the safer, so you're not having to struggle trying to use a blunt chisel. This came pretty sharp already, I haven't sharpened it yet. So we'll just have a look how it's getting on at the moment. Looks quite messy. As long as you're keeping inside your inner rectangle or the maximum of your outer rectangle, you're not going to notice it. Where you can see these curves here, that's the edge of where the spade bit has drilled the holes. So my plan is to use my large chisel to join all the outside edges, the outside radius of these circles up. So I'll end up with a nice straight line going all the way along there, parallel to at least parallel to the outer rectangle, or even better would be to be actually on the inside rectangle line that I drew in the first place. So I'll keep going around to these short lines. I keep chiseling these to make them deeper, and that will stop the grain split to continue all the way down or up. So you chisel these down first and then go in like a diagonal motion to scrape all these all the inside of the hole out. So hammer and chisel, just keep slow and steady, and also the tip is to make sure wherever you're chiseling you keep clamped, keep it clamped up. You have a much safer work rate if you are straddling the door. Although I've got the jig supporting the door, obviously a temporary jig made on a wooden pipe with some 4x2, you just get your knees either side of the door as well whilst you are working the chisels. You'll have a much better posture, much better outcome. And if you're working from above the hole, you can see from bird's eye view that it's becoming square, parallel and neat and accurate. So I'll just show you what we're up to so far. Overall we've got the right depth the sides are looking nice and neat now. So there's just a tiny area here towards the top of where the mortise latch is going to go. That just needs removing. It's all chipboard inside this oak veneered door, so it does chisel away pretty easy. You just have to get past that first 20mm of solid oak, and then the chipboard just comes away. A bit like Weetabix really, so it's not too bad. If I put the mortise latch in there now, you can see it's nice and loose. There's enough play in there to make any adjustments, but at the moment it's still a bit high here on this side, so I just need to, on this side here it's a bit high, so I just need to take away some of the bottom there, a bit more of the chipboard away. So I'll do that with the chisel and try again. Okay, so we've got the mortise latch sat in there now. It's sat in flush there. Next thing we need to do is take the clamp away. The next thing I'm going to do is drill 2 holes, one through here, one through here, and they are, as we said earlier, they're for the 2 square bars. The top big square bar is for the handle, the bottom square bar is for the bathroom lock. So I'm going to drill these now. 20mm spade bit, drilling through this side till it pierces a little hole on the back. Take the drill bit out and then go in through this side. You'll find that's a much neater, gives a much neater finish. Okay, so I'll drill the 2 holes. Come through this side only a little bit. This way I can line up where the drill bit needs to go, and otherwise if I'd have drilled straight through with a 20mm spade bit, this damage here would have been a lot worse. It probably would have gone past the width of the door handle. So you drill through one side, let the tip of the spade bit come through the other side, stop, take the drill out, then line up the tip of the drill bit with the hole on the other side of the door, then come back through. Just like so. So the only damage there is very minimal, and this damage, let's have a look at the other side. Well, there's no damage, it's not really damage. You wouldn't notice anything when the handle's on there. Very neat and clean cut. All the mess is inside, and obviously you can just get your vacuum on that to remove all the dust from that. Next thing we need to do here is rebate. 2mm rebate along here for the outer rectangle that we drew in the first instance. So we need to rebate 2mm into there, and for that we're going to use a router with an 8mm flat router bit. The depth is set already. Already set the depth on there. The only thing I need to do is just very carefully go around my pencil line with my chisel. And again, start off with crossing the grain. Start choosing the cross grain first of all, both from the bottom and the top, before you go along with the grain. And that will, as I said before, that will just reduce the amount of grain split that you could potentially end up with. This way we won't end up with any grain split, because we are stopping the grain at point of source, and wherever you chisel on that vertical there, the grain split will not come past where you've stopped it. So once again, before I started the chiseling, I put the clamp on there just to prevent the chisel from splitting the wood here, making the wood come apart, making the door come apart here. So I've gone around the frame, I've gone around all around the frame, Now I'm going to set the router up and rebait with the router tip. Go nice and steady. You don't need to buy one of these £200 jigs for marking out and for rebaiting for all your hinges and mortices. Just mark out your line, chisel the line, set your router to the right depth, and then carefully, slow and steady, all you have to do is neaten this up. Go back over your lines that you've just chiseled to neaten up, and that will be a perfect rebate. So we'll see in a sec after I've neatened it up. Okay, so we'll try the latch in there now. Make sure it's all cleaned. I've just gone over it with the vacuum again. So I'll drop that in place and you can see it's actually quite a nice fit. Once these screws have gone in, that will get rid of that last little sort of half a millimetre that the plate of the latch is sticking out, is protruding by. So just look at the top view. You can see the woodwork around, or the chisel work around the plate of the latch is pretty good actually. Pretty good. I wouldn't say excellent, but I'd say pretty good, very good. So it's well worth having a go yourself. Don't bother buying a jig, just buy yourself a router and you can use it for other bits of DIY around the home as well. So I'll just add the screws to this and then I'm going to rebate on the reverse side of the door for the hinges, and then that will be it. So that's how you install a bathroom mortise latch by yourself at home. If you have any questions, please drop me an email. If you liked this video, I've got many more similar sort of DIY jobs around the home, so please subscribe. Thank you for watching.